Many years ago, I think it was around the early 2000s, there was this popular movie with Eddie Murphy. Eddie Murphy played in it. It was called The Nutty Professor. And it was about this man named Sherman Klump. I'm quite sure all of you have watched this movie. It was very funny. It was very popular. But this man named Sherman Klump, he was very intelligent. He was a highly intelligent professor. But he was filled with a lot of shame because he was very obese. He was overweight. He got teased and picked on a lot, and he was not very successful when it came to relationships with women. And so in order to invent himself, he wanted to reinvent himself. And so he created this potion, this type of elixir. And it turned into something called Buddy Love or whatever. His name was Buddy. And Buddy was complete opposite of Sherman Klump. Buddy was outgoing. He wasn't shy. He knew how to stand up for himself because, see, Sherman Klump was just kind of pathetic when it came to, stand up for himself. People would pick on him and tease him and just bully him. But see, Sherman Klump was faced with a lot of shame. And so he created this Buddy Love character. It was basically a persona. So whenever he would go out, if he would want to go on a date with somebody or if he wanted to impress someone, he would drink this potion that would turn him into this Buddy Love. Buddy Love was attractive. Buddy Love was a ladies' man. He had charisma. He was very, very handsome. And he had this outgoing personality. He had charm. He was funny. And he had a nice body. He was in great shape. And the ladies loved Buddy Love. So whenever Sherman Klump wanted to get someone, he wanted to grab the attention of a lady. And at this time, his love interest that he was pursuing was played by Jada Pinkett. And he wanted her. And so he turned himself into Buddy Love. And he was ashamed for her to see the true him. And so whenever he was around her, he would take this potion. Whenever the potion would wear off, because see, it wouldn't last. This potion was not lasting because Sherman Klump's true self always came forth by the end of the night. Within a few hours, he would start gaining weight and he would just start turning to himself. His glasses, you would see him just bursting out of his suit because his big body, it's like his girth. He had changed himself. He had transformed himself, but it wasn't permanent. It was something fake. Because, see, Sherman wanted to hide who he truly was. And so at the end of the story, this woman finally found out because Sherman couldn't keep up this lie because he had to keep running away and he would just leave in the middle of the date. He would just run out of the restaurant. And the character was wondering, what's going on? The woman played by Jada Pinkett was like, what's going on? Sherman, why is he always leaving? And so finally he had to admit to her the truth because he was so afraid that she would not embrace him. She would not like the true him because he was filled with so much shame. He was made to hate who he was. And so finally, at the end of the movie, he finally showed her who he truly was. And she actually fell in love with him because she liked the true him. And so the reason why I'm talking about this movie is because I'm dealing with a situation right now where there is a family, an entire family. The Lord has revealed to me. I have a stubborn pursuer who has been filled with shame. These people, they did not like being very poor. And so that if you know, back in the days, blacks were always ashamed of being poor. We didn't grow up with much. If most black families, majority of them did not have much. We did not have anything. And a lot of times, a lot of things were, we dealt with certain stereotypes. Things were conditioned inside of us to make us feel a certain way, especially if you were, you had the typical features of a black person, meaning typical features that were at that time negated, things that were seen as anything that related to black. True blackness made people feel shame. They didn't like their nappy hair. They didn't like being very dark. They didn't like being a certain way. They didn't like being poor on welfare. And, as you go in the store and you have food stamps, you'd be embarrassed. It brought shame. Even though majority of us had these things, for some reason, we just wanted to ridicule each other. Whenever we see somebody with food stamps or somebody would laugh at you, or every time you came to school, your clothes were kind of raggedy and unkempt, they laugh at you, say you raggedy, you poor. And most of us dealt with it. And so, but what God has shown me is what's been going on. An entire family has hijacked things for me. Now, I woke up this morning and I look like this when I woke up. And this has been going on for years where a woman has been taken from me. This woman, I woke up and I had slept for a few hours. I went to bed. I got about 5 hours of sleep. But it felt like I hadn't slept at all. It felt like I hadn't slept a wink. And my eyes were so dried out. They were burning. It's like my eyes, it felt like they had been opened all night. I had these big dark bags under my eyes. Big circles, big dark bags have been here for the longest. My nose all spread and puffy. The same old thing. My face real big and wide and fat. Now, I don't have a lot of fat on my face. And you saw how I looked just a day ago. And I'm like, what's going on? And the Lord, I knew I put two and two together already because this woman has been binding herself to my soul. And so she bound herself to my soul, and she was up all night doing spell work to fight for my identity. I'm in a battle that she's been hijacking my identity. This has been going on for years because, see, her family, this is a pride issue. The Lord showed me that they have their reputation to maintain. They don't like the things that portray to them being black, basically. They don't like the typical black things that kind of, it characterizes them as being black, a common black person on welfare, or a black person with a child with dark skin or nappy hair or overweight or obese. And they want to dress up themselves to impress white people. As you can see, this woman has hijacked my entire life. This is the thing, though. Just as like with Sherman Clump wanted to reinvent himself, he turned himself to Buddy Love. These people have all been coming after me, targeting me. And the Lord let me know this. And the reason why I'm showing you all, because this is happening to a lot of people. A lot of people's lives have been put at a standstill because people have been using sorcery and witchcraft because they are so filled with shame. They don't want to embrace who they truly are, and they want to reinvent themselves. Not only that, they're not supposed to have these things, and they're hijacking the destinies of God's people so they can use these things, okay? So they can gain riches and wealth, so they can have businesses, they can be held as, successful business people. They change their features, they change their looks, and they take on an entire person's destiny. And so the Lord was showing me that for years, this woman has been taking my destiny. I would go back and forth. My features were changing. Like you see my face will all of a sudden be really fat and big. I have a puffy fat face with my nose and my eyes with big dark circles under my eyes. My bone structure would change. I would gain all this weight all of a sudden. And I was not meant to be like that. And as you know, when people are trying to incorporate themselves into the successful, popular white lifestyle, they basically want to whitewash themselves. They want to get rid of everything that reflects themselves as being black. Black are women. Black women are usually bigger. They have, bigger legs, bigger thighs, bigger butts, bigger breasts, bigger bones. Like their noses are wider. Their lips are thicker. And a lot of times their hair is texturized, it's more kinkier. And their skin, they have melanated skin, but I was not born that way. Okay. The thing is, God created certain people to look a certain way. We're all different and we all have our identity. But this woman that I talk about often on this page has been fighting me to take over my identity because her parents, her family, this is something that derived from their entire family because they're all doing it. The Lord showed me her sister is doing it, her bigger sister, her older sister, her niece, her grandmother, her mother. All these people have been doing it for years, and they did not like the fact that they were poor. They did not like the fact that they didn't have money, or they had black features that we were criticized for having many years ago. But as you know, time has evolved. But see, these people want to hold on to their lie. They're filled with pride. The Lord told me that they're filled with pride. The Holy Spirit let me know that they're filled with pride. And so they're doing everything to hold on to a lie, to hijack my destiny. Every time it wears off, this one will stay up all night. She will stay up all night doing spell work to fight for my physical features. And this is why you see day to day, my face will change. And all of a sudden, everything that God has for me has been put at a standstill. Because she's binding herself with my soul. Her whole family has been doing this because they're afraid of who they truly are. They don't want to embrace who they truly are. They don't want the world to see it. And this woman has gotten a lot off of stealing my identity. And see, the Lord does not want her to hold on to that because he said, and you should know in the word, it says theft. That's something. Thou shalt not steal. That's one of his commandments. That is one of his commandments, that thou shalt not steal. And these people are stealing the identity of me and many of his other anointed servants. But she has successfully obtained herself an entire life of success. She's a business owner now. She's done these things with my destiny. And see, God had my destiny for a purpose, for me to do ministry work, to bring his people out of bondage, to do the work for the kingdom of God. And see, this is what's going on in Satan's kingdom. They're hijacking things from God's people so that they can go along and take the fame, the wealth, the success. And they do things like this. They attend these white parties. They celebrate, they have fun. And this is what they're doing. Trivial things with God's destiny for his people. This is stuff that belongs to God's kingdom. They're stealing it from God's kingdom. And so this woman, who has been allowed to do these things for many years, she has stolen my life. Not only she's hijacked my life, but she's taken the life of my son. That's why her son, was able to go to a nice school. You see, as he has white friends, they've incorporated themselves well with the white population. And they have, and as a result, have been allowed to increase their wealth and their success because they're hanging around with white people. As you know, when black people integrate with white people, they obtain success. They obtain a level of prestige that a lot of times they don't often get when they're just with the black race. And these people have allowed to be able to surpass certain milestones and certain limitations that's placed on black people because they have integrated themselves by mixing in and mingling with, the Caucasian race of people. But they've lived a lie. See, these things they have hijacked for years. They have hijacked my personality, my destiny, my knowledge, my gifts, my talents, everything that God has put inside of me, everything God has put inside my children. My son was highly intelligent. This woman has taken everything from my son. Even his physical features has changed. They have done these things. And she goes back on her page. She's edited a lot of her videos to try, to change it. When she's representing herself, she represents herself differently when she's around her white friends, her business friends, but she acts a certain way when, the veil comes down when she's around, the black people. And so this is what these people have done. They've tried to cover up their shame. They tried to hide who they truly are for years because this is a prideful spirit that's working inside of them. And see, I've been fighting this for a long time. And this woman has been very adept at jumping inside of me, attaching herself to my soul, taking things that's meant for me. And as a result, I've had to live in poverty. I've had to walk around in shame. My children, all the things that happened to us, things that happened to my son, were him, getting arrested, going into group homes, living in foster care. All those things were not supposed to happen. But the Lord showed me this happens as a result of this woman swapping the destiny that she swapped our destiny. She swapped my son's destiny with her child's destiny. She swapped her destiny with mine. And this is what's happening in the spiritual realm. This is why I've been dealing with this for a lot of time. And as you can see here, this woman cares all about reputation. As you can see here, I'm going to put this excerpt here where she talks about her reputation. And see, this is what it is. It's a spirit of pride, Leviathan, that's come over them, where they will go to all extremes, even though this is not who she truly is. She will stay up all night doing spell work just to hold on to an identity that does not belong to her. And this is what God has a problem with, because see, his people cannot move forward. People who are anointed to do a work for his kingdom, we cannot do what it is that we're supposed to do, because there are people who are in this kingdom of darkness who are fighting against the kingdom of light. They have hijacked things that belong to his people. They have targeted us, and they have taken things. They have taken our beauty. They have stolen our beauty. They have stolen our athletic abilities. They have stolen our talents. They've stolen our knowledge and our wisdom. They have stolen our lives, our destinies. We were supposed to go on and create businesses to benefit God's kingdom, to help his people, but they have held on to these things. And this is what God has a problem with. And this is why I've gone through this. I've asked God, says, why haven't you done anything about it? Because see, it's not only affecting me, it's affecting the entire church. Many of God's anointed people have been stuck at a standstill because, see, when I talked before, when someone hijacks your identity, you can no longer use it, because it's like they're holding it on an altar. It's like if you think about, like I talked about it before, if you think about someone's credit card or someone's identification, if someone's using that in the physical realm, you can't use it until you prove that, this is my identity. You have to go through all these steps to get your identity back. Or if someone has your bank card, let's say you lost your bank card. Can you go to the bank and withdraw money out of the ATM? Can you go in the stores and purchase anything? No, because this person is running around with their credit card and they're using things until you go to the bank and let them know, hey, this person has stolen my credit card. And so this is where we're at the point now. God wants to cut them off. God is ready to cut them off because they're walking around using benefits that do not belong to them. They have been taking, personal possessions of other people, of God's children now. They do not serve God. They serve Satan. They do witchcraft. They do sorcery. They do voodoo. They do magic. They do spell work. They're serving gods and goddesses and idols. And this is something that God does not want. He wants to put a stop to all of this. And so I'm asking the church to come together and pray, because I have been dealing with this for years. And it took a long time for God to reveal to me what was happening. I didn't understand why all of a sudden my life went from one way, where I was outgoing and had friends, and my mother had placed me in private schools, and I was getting a private school education, and I was on my way to becoming a success. But all of a sudden my entire life turned around, where I was getting teased and picked on in school. I ended up leaving the school. My mother lost, my mother was already poor, but it got to the point where she could not even pay for me to go to the private schools anymore. Things were happening with my life, and there was a whole turnaround. And I had raised my son up. He was not a bad boy. He was very outgoing. He was very intelligent, and he lived a preppy lifestyle. I didn't introduce him to all that stuff. He was like a preppy kid. He loved to learn and all these things. And all of a sudden, their lives just turned around. Their physical features changed. Their personalities changed. They were not outgoing anymore. And all of a sudden, they were getting teased and picked on. And all of a sudden, they kept getting in trouble. Their whole demeanor and everything changed. And the Lord was letting me know this was done because people from the kingdom of darkness has hijacked Their identity has stolen and taken, arrested their personality and their destinies. They're holding our destinies and they're hijacking. They're putting them on altars. And as this woman, like I talked about this woman all the time, she'll lie and try to do everything to cover it up. And she has people who are praying with her, who are doing damage control. And when I put these videos up, they block them. They remove them. If you put in a search, you don't even find them on Google. But you can see everything pop up about me being a stalker, everything they're fighting together. And so this is part of the elite organization. So they have been taking things for a long time. This woman I talked about, her entire family has been taken from me because they're filled with shame. They want to cover up who they truly are. But see, God does not want this. This is something that is not of God. He is ready to expose her. He's ready to bring it down because see, the evidence is them walking around with everything that they have of ours. And those who are walking around with it, like I talked about the ark of God, when you're walking around with something that was not meant for you, God put that in his people. It was for his kingdom. He has anointed them for a purpose. And you walked around with these stolen things. It's like you're stealing directly from God himself. And so it's going to represent the ark of God, that everything you touch is going to be destroyed. Everything you have is going to be destroyed. He's going to send out his wrath. His wrath is coming upon all of those who have thought that they could hijack and steal the lives of God's people, who can take their destinies and take their beauty in their lives and stop things. People could not get married. People could not obtain jobs. People could not go forth and do what they were supposed to have done. He was placing people to be put in these positions, and the kingdom of darkness have fighting and hijacked and taken the positions of his people. And this is why the world is in the state that it's in now, because the rightful people are not in the positions that they're supposed to be in. And you have the kingdom of darkness leading the world because they have stolen the positions and the authority and the possessions of God's people, his true anointed church. And this is something I'm asking you all to get together and pray about. Like I said, this woman will stay up all night doing spell works and curses and spells to take and keep us taking things that belong to me. And I will wake up, all of a sudden I wake up with all this fat all over my body. My whole face changed, my facial features, my jawline, my bone structure, and everything would just be set back. Every time I feel like a breakthrough's coming, it will be blocked and halted because these people are fighting relentlessly. So I'm asking you all to join together the church, that you will start fasting and praying so that this is all brought down, that God's people will have their truthful things, that their destinies are returned to them, that they will have everything, their possessions, their spouses, their mates, their businesses, their houses, their ministries, everything that's supposed to be theirs, that is returned to them, that the kingdom of darkness is cut off, that they will no longer be allowed to continue to take from God's people, that God will bring forth his power and begin to restore his church.